You know what's interesting? Some people spend their whole lives thinking they're just too complicated. Their mind goes deeper than they want it to. They feel things more intensely than they show, and they get drained very quickly around people who only live on the surface. And they almost never stop to consider that the problem may not be their weirdness at all. It may be that their mind simply works in a rarer way than most people's, because there is a type of intelligence that doesn't always show up in grades, degrees, or IQ tests. It shows up differently, in the way you pick up hidden meaning almost instantly, in the way your mind processes even the smallest signals more deeply than other people do, and in the way it can feel exhausting to be surrounded by people who see everything in a very flat, simplified way. And if some of these signs feel familiar, your intelligence may not just be high, it may be rare. The first sign is that you read people faster than they can explain themselves. Picture a normal situation. Someone says, "I'm fine," and everyone else takes that at face value. But you can already tell it's not fine. There's tension, there's hurt, there's exhaustion, or something underneath the words that no one else seems to notice. That isn't magic. In psychology, this is often connected to pattern recognition, the ability to quickly detect emotional and behavioral signals that repeat in subtle ways. In other words, you're not just hearing words, you're picking up on pauses, tone, eye contact, tension in someone's voice. And very often, you understand what a person is really feeling before they've even explained it. The second sign is that simple answers don't satisfy you. Someone says, "Don't overthink it, just live more simply." Everyone does that. And instead of feeling comforted, you feel irritated. Not because you're difficult, but because your mind doesn't like fake clarity. This often connects to something called metacognition, the ability to think not only about a problem, but about how you are thinking about it. So you don't just think, you observe your own thinking. And that creates a very different kind of mental depth. The third sign is that you may be slower to respond, but deeper in your conclusions. Some people have an opinion instantly. Other people need time, not because they're slower, but because their mind doesn't skim the surface. For example, after one conversation, someone else moves on immediately, but you're still thinking about it later. What was really behind that sentence? Why did they say it that way? What was actually happening underneath that whole interaction? From the outside, that can look like overthinking. But sometimes it's not just overthinking, sometimes it's deep processing. When the mind automatically looks for structure, motive, meaning, and subtext instead of just taking things at face value. The fourth sign is that it's hard for you to respect things that have no inner logic. If a rule is meaningless, you see it. If someone speaks in empty cliches, you hear it. If a system looks polished on the outside but makes no sense underneath, it drains you. And that's where a lot of people start assuming they're just too critical. But often that's not really what's happening. You simply have a lower tolerance for superficiality. And that creates an interesting combination, a high tolerance for complexity, meaning you can handle nuance, ambiguity, and layered ideas, but a very low tolerance for anything fake, hollow, or thoughtless. And the fifth sign is that you often feel slightly different from most people. Not from superiority, but from distance. Not because you think you're better, but because your mind is constantly processing a little more than normal life seems to require. Where other people are just living in the moment, you've already picked up on something. Where other people accept the easy explanation, you're still looking for the real one. Where other people don't notice anything unusual, you've already seen the pattern. And that's why people with a rare type of intelligence often carry a strange feeling. They see the world very clearly, but they don't always feel deeply seen by the world in return. And this is the important part. Rare intelligence is not always about being the loudest, the most impressive, or the most outwardly successful person in the room. Sometimes it's something quieter, a finer perception, a deeper analysis, a mind that sees more than what's obvious on the surface. So if several of these signs felt a little too familiar, maybe there's nothing wrong with you. Maybe your mind simply works in a rarer way than most people's. Let me know in the comments which of these 5 signs felt the most true for you. And if you want more videos about hidden types of intelligence, deep thinking, and the unusual psychology of the mind, make sure to subscribe.